Hello everyone, a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. This is your host Vaibhav. In today's session of Daily Talk, we are going to consider the energy giant from the United States, ExxonMobil is the largest company in the US in the crude oil sector. It has been doing well. It has seen its revenues and its net profit recovered to some extent, but it is still below its prior peaks. It is still below its earlier expectations, and that is why we are seeing that its shares are no longer rallying. It has been in a consolidation with slightly bearish bias for last couple of weeks, and I'm not really expecting any time soon the things to change. We will have to be patient because if you look at the broader picture, the pricing for the crude oil prices are now trading lower than a year earlier, and also the natural gas prices have collapsed. So these two factors are affecting adversely the margins of the ExxonMobil. It is dealing in the crude oil with lower margins, and as a result of that, its net profit are significantly lower in comparison to the first quarter of fiscal year 2023. Its net profit have dropped somewhere close to 30%, and its operating margins are also under pressure. And as I have underlined the reasons, unless there is recovery in the energy space in coming quarters, we can't really expect the broader picture for the outlook of the ExxonMobil to change significantly. We are likely to see it struggling in the coming quarters for enhancing the operating margins. I'm not really that hopeful for its margins to improve. It is more or less likely to do just as fine as it did in the last couple of quarters. No big change is expected for the remainder of the year. The global geopolitical scenario is not exactly stable, but still the world seems to have grown accustomed to the conflict in the Middle East, with the multiple conflicts going on across the world. There is that ongoing war in the Eurasia between Russia and Ukraine that had pushed and led to the substantial increase in the light crude oil prices in the year 2022 and 23. Then there was another reason for the rally in the light crude oil prices when the conflict between Palestine and Israel began, the Gaza offensive. There was also skirmish, a slight misunderstanding, you can say, between Iran and Israel. So all these factors have, to some extent, been the driving factors behind the light crude oil prices. And as I am going to underline once again, the world now seems to have learned to live with these conflicts, and we are no longer seeing heightened volatility in the energy space. And with this outlook, we will have to consider what are the revenues, what are the net profit, and what are the existing margins, and how things are likely to shape up in the coming quarters to get a good idea of how things are likely to turn out for the investors of the ExxonMobil. So let us get started with its quarterly report. This is the condensed consolidated statement of income for the first quarter of fiscal year 2024 for the ExxonMobil. We have these numbers for the 3 months ended March 31st, 2024. In the comparative sense, you can see that the total revenues have dropped from US dollar 86.5 billion to just little over $83 billion. That's the decline of around 4 percentage point in total revenues, and this is driven purely by the lower realizations on the price front for the dry crude and the natural gas. The cost for the production haven't really changed much. Actually, there has been increase in the cost of the production by $1 billion, and that has resulted in the total cost and other deductions rising to $70.7 billion. The income before the income tax is just little over $12.3 billion. And then if we adjust these items like income tax and net income attributable to non-controlling interest, we get this final net income at $8.22 billion, which is significantly lower in comparison to the $11.43 billion registered a year back. I have already provided you with the reasons of why this is happening, and we can't really expect the macroeconomic picture to change, help the ExxonMobil in the remaining part of this year. That's very hard to expect, and most probably not really likely to happen. So we are not expecting the net income of the ExxonMobil to rise and go on to match these first quarter 2023 earnings. That now seems like a long shot, and we will have to then trade accordingly. We will have to consider what are the price ranges in which the price of the light crude is likely to hover, and using that we can get a clearer picture for the margins and the net profit of the ExxonMobil, and accordingly we can plan about our trades and investment decisions in its share price. Let us see how the cash flows have turned out for the ExxonMobil. This is the condensed consolidated statement of cash flow. From the operations, the company was able to generate $14.66 billion, which is a huge amount in itself, but then in comparative terms, it is pointing to the decline of more than 10 percentage point. Apart from that, any other company would have been quite happy to see that kind of cash being generated by the operating activity. Out of these 14.66 billion, $4.57 billion were spent for the investment activity. The bulk of it went into the addition of property, plant, and equipment, and another 421 million were spent for investments and advances. The proceeds from the sale of assets and return on investments amounted to $703 million. And not, yes, it is right, 703 million. Coming to the financing activity, there was a reduction in the short-term debt that resulted in the outflow of $1.1 billion. The cash dividend was also given to the ExxonMobil shareholders that took away $3.8 billion. The company also resorted to the buyback of the common stock, and with this common stock acquired, another $3.01 billion went away. So it has spent a lot of money on the concerns for the shareholder. It has provided handsome dividend and also resorted to the share buyback to enhance the value for the shareholders. These initiatives have resulted in the cash outflow of $7.98 billion for the company. but still it has more than enough cash on its books. It is seeing increase in the cash and cash equivalents by US dollar 1.78 billion, and now its cash pile is amounting to US dollar 33.35 billion. That's uh, that's pretty much enough money to run the businesses and also seize the opportunity as and when those opportunities come the way of the ExxonMobil to be exploited. Now let us turn our gaze to the technical side of the story. We will head to the JForex 4, the trading platform from the Dukascopy Bank SA. This is the chart of the ExxonMobil in the short term. I have defined the candle period at hourly. So you can see the price trajectory of the ExxonMobil over the last few days. If you consider the price formation, it seems to be of lower lows and lower highs. Its bearish momentum has been visible for a while now. It turned the corner and it has been consolidating with the bearish bias for last couple of weeks. And as I have said in my introductory remarks as well, the things are not really expected to turn sunny for the ExxonMobil anytime soon. The outlook remains challenging, and in this challenging time, the stock price of the ExxonMobil is not really expected to start rallying from the current levels, as there is no spark for it to start climbing again. It made this peak around 123.75 in the first half of April. From then, it is now down by around 10 percentage point, and it is showing no signs of stopping on the lower levels. It is still in this formation of lower lows and lower highs. So we will have to be prepared for taking advantage of these slightly bearish momentum in the ExxonMobil. The best thing we can do is adopt a sell on rally approach. If you consider the prior swing high, it is there around 114, 115 price range, and this time around also the ExxonMobil seems to be struggling after getting close to that. It is finding resistance on the price levels close to it. So if over next few trading session there is no big move on the higher side, I would say that we can indeed take our chances and initiate the trading positions in the short side. We can go for fresh initiation of the short sell trade in the ExxonMobil, and in course of time the price level below 108 can be expected to be seen in the stock price of the ExxonMobil, as it is having this bearish grip on its momentum. We can expect this formation of lower lows and lower highs to keep unfolding unless there is any catalyst which can change and turn things around in the short term for the ExxonMobil. In the medium term, after its peak at 123, this bias has remained bearish, and even in the medium term where we are using day as the candle period time frame, we are yet to see stabilization after this prior rally from the levels close to 100 to 123. After this strong rally, the things have gone sideways for the ExxonMobil, and we have already discussed the fundamental factors driving these correction from the higher levels, and we think likely to remain this way for the next few quarters. We will have to trade cautiously. Maybe if it stabilizes and doesn't really decline much from the current levels, maybe in course of time over next few months we can go for the newer long trades as well. But right now the things are pointing southwards and we will do well to go with the flow and maybe look for the opportunities to short it with the sell on rally approach instead of going for the long trade at the current juncture. From the long term perspective, the things are not that different in the long run. It is simply in a consolidation phase. If you consider this price formation over the last few years, starting from 2022 to 23, and now we are in 2024. After the prices rallied from the levels seen in 2000 and 2021, things have kind of stabilized on these elevated levels for the ExxonMobil. Of course, the higher prices of the crude and natural gas has helped the ExxonMobil remain on the elevated levels, but now the prices have stopped growing and rising again, and the thing seems to be in a consolidation phase with comparative decline being observed in the price of light food and natural gas. So I feel if the price drops further, the producers like ExxonMobil are going to see their margin shrunk, and that is going to be cause for concern for the investors and the shareholders. So we do need to keep that factor in mind as and when we have to make a decision about investing in the ExxonMobil stock. So given that factor in play, we I think are in a situation where we will do well to sit simply on the sidelines. There is not really time for the investment in the ExxonMobil stock for the long run. Maybe if it doesn't really decline much and gets close to the immediate swing high, which is there around 95, 96, maybe at that point in time we can think about the long-term investment decision or a swing trade kind of possibility. But right now, that's too early to say. We will have to be patient here, allow things to stabilize over next few weeks, next few months, and maybe by the end of this year, we will have much more clarity on the pricing trajectory of the light crude and natural gas, and with that we will be in a better position to judge the pricing trajectory of the producers of the light crude and natural gas based on ExxonMobil. So that's my take looking at the current price formation of the ExxonMobil, where it seems to be going sideways. It is lacking spark for any big rally at the current juncture. We have to trade in it from the short term to medium term basis with a bearish bias, and if you are looking for long term investment decision, maybe it is better for you to simply sit on the sidelines and allow more clarity to emerge with time, and then make a decision based on the macroeconomic scenario and geopolitical outlook by the end of this year. Now it's time for me to say goodbye for the day, for the week, and I hope this session has helped you in deciding to trade and invest in this stock. You can have equally informative sessions at your fingertips if you simply subscribe to the channel. I will be back again with a new company to work with. See you next time around. Thank you all for joining in. Have a fabulous day ahead. Goodbye.